What's up, everybody? So this is gonna be my second video this week. I'm on a roll, you know what I'm saying? Figured I might as well keep recording because I'm like in a good mood and it's just kind of flowing. So anyway, this is actually gonna be I'm gonna talk about something that happened in my neighborhood where I live at, and I still live in this same apartment. It's like an old apartment complex. It's kind of in the hood, not like real bad. It actually used to be a little bit worse. It's a little bit better now. But like everybody knows, like rent is just so goddamn expensive. That's why we haven't moved. But it's like one of the cheaper. It's like an old apartment building. And the rent's like relatively affordable compared to other areas. So anyway, like what happened was we had this neighbor. They moved now, thank God. But um, this lady, like, I think she was like maybe around my age. Her and her husband lived like in the building next to us upstairs, and she was cool. Like, she was nice. We got along with her. Her husband was kind of. I didn't really care for the dude. Like, kind of wanted to slap him around. Like, if he gave me an excuse, like I would have lit that fool up. But I think he kind of knew. Like, he kind of avoided me and didn't act stupid. But they had a son. Well, actually, I think it was his stepson. I don't think it was his son. Um, this dude was like in his early 20s, and he was just a fucking idiot. Like, he would get drunk. He would sit out on the patio and get drunk, and it seemed like he didn't really have any homies. I didn't really see him with anybody anytime, but he would like get drunk sometimes, and he'd be out like just talking shit to like random people, anybody that came walking by or something. He'd be like just talking shit, like telling them stupid shit. Like, he was just a dumbass, right? So, anyways, this dude used to slang. He was like a dope man, I guess. And so what ended up happening one day was, I guess he was making a deal or something, and the dudes tried to jack him. So I guess he tried to get away, and when he was trying to get away, I guess they shot at him a couple times, and one of the bullets went in through his car door, hit him in the front of the belly, and like, it just kind of like grazed him. Like, it made like what it looked like kind of like a little ditch on his stomach, like maybe about a couple inches long and just maybe like about a half inch deep. Like, it didn't, it wasn't even that deep. But anyway, like what happened was we were just chilling at home, right? And I think it was on one of my nights off from the prison, and I just happened to be like, I was in the room taking a nap or something, and then I heard like somebody banging on the door, and I remember my lady was like, she was like, hey, she goes, the neighbor's banging on the door, and then she like, so I started to get up and started to, get dressed, and then she opened the door, and I heard the lady saying like something about my son's been shot, my son's been shot, help us or something like that. And I was like, hold up. I said, so I threw a shirt on, and I walked out there real fast. And she had the door open, but the screen door was still closed, the security door, I mean. So I said, let me talk to her. So I walked up to the door, and I was like, what's going on? And so this lady was standing right there, and her 21-year-old or whatever, 20-year-old son is standing there next to her. And like I said, he was a fucking idiot, but he had never said shit to us, right? But anyway, so like I'm like, what's going on? And she goes, my son's been shot. She's like, look, and she tells him like, show him, So he pulls up his shirt, and I could see on his belly, like I said, like where there was about a 2 inch, wound, and it just looked like a ditch, like skin had been like scraped. And I'm like, oh shit. I said, well, why are you bringing him here? I said, why don't you take him to the hospital? I said, what do you want? What do you think we're gonna do for him? Like, you need to take him to a hospital. And she was like, well, he needs help, this and that. And so the son was like, Mom, I told you, like, why are you trying to involve them in our problems, or something like that. So at least he, I guess he had a little bit of sense, right? So she's like, I'm sorry. She's like, okay, so they left, right? So they walked away, and I was just kind of watching them through the screen door. They walked away, and they went back upstairs to their apartment, right? And I was wondering, like, because they actually their cousins used to live right next door to us, and we were cool with them. But I was wondering, like, why didn't they go over there if they need help? Like, why are they coming over here, right? So I remember I just kind of, I don't know why, I just happened to look across the street, and there was an undercover police car parked right there. I could tell it was an undercover, right? So I was like, oh shit, they're already they're surveilling this dude, so they know something happened, right? So, they were probably like, had this dude like under surveillance for a while, because he, like I said, he was a loudmouth, so he didn't know how to keep a low profile or whatever. So I closed the door, and so I'm telling my lady what happened, and she's like, oh, "Do you think we should have helped him?" I'm like, no, fuck no. Are you crazy? I'm not gonna let that dude in here. He's just been shot. Like, he needs to go to the freaking hospital. Like, and we can't get involved in that. And I told her there's a fucking undercover cop across the street already watching. So she's like, oh shit, for real. I'm like, yeah. So I'm looking out the window. Of course, I'm being a metiche. I got to see what's going on, right? And wifey kept yelling at me, get out of the window. So I'm like, hold on, I want to see what's up. So a couple minutes later, I seen like undercovers from everywhere, just like zoomed in, just like, I'm not even lying, just like in the movies, like Dodge Chargers and like Impalas, all kinds of different like SUVs, a couple of, like regular police cars too. And dudes got out in fucking SWAT gear. I don't know if they were SWAT or if they were like some kind of gang task force or whatever, but they were like in full body armor. They had AR-15s, and one dude even had a ballistic shield, right? So of course, I was fascinated because I was in the military, and I was on the SWAT team at the prison, so I'm like all into this shit. So I'm like, oh fuck, this is badass. So I'm just like watching them, and they got information. They stacked up. What it means is like, they get in a line, like in a tactical formation, right? And the dude is at the front with the ballistic shield, and he's got a pistol, but he's got the shield in front of him, and everybody's behind him with the AR-15s and shit. And so I'm like just watching them, like, through the window like this, like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch this shit go down. I'm not even thinking like I might catch a stray bullet or some shit. I'm like, I want to see what's going on, right? So she's still yelling at me to get out of the window, and I'm like, shut up, like, hold on. Next thing I know, no joke, right? Because I'm sure the undercover told them, like, he went over to this apartment right here, so they might be involved or something like that, right? So I see the dude, the number 2 guy in the formation is usually the commander, the one that's like giving the orders, right? So he's like in second place, and I see him like saying something to the other guys in the team, and he goes like this, and he points at me. No shit, he went like that, and he goes like that, pointed at me, probably like telling them watch, over there to make sure like this. And I had just shaved my head too, so I looked like a fucking bald-headed fucking crazy Mexican. So I mean, not saying I'm not, but I mean, I'm not like a criminal or whatever, right? But so I'm like, oh shit. So when I seen him do that, I was like, I better get my ass out the window, right? So I closed the window, and I went inside, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hear, listen and see what happens, right? So maybe about like 15 or 20 minutes later, we hear a knock at the front door, like, and I already knew it was the popo, right? So I told my wife, because she was all scared, oh shit, I said, let me talk to him, So I open the door, and I see a couple of detectives, like a dude and a female, and then like a uniformed officer. And the male detective is all like, he's like, I understand that so-and-so, he said her name, I can't remember her name, and her son, so-and-so, he said his name. They were speaking to you before this whole thing happened, and this and that, and we want to come in and search your apartment. I said, no, you're not. And he's like, you're not going to let us in? I said, fuck no. I said, for what? And he goes, well, we want to make sure they didn't, he's like, they didn't give you anything, did they? I was like, nah, man. I said, ask your fucking officer in that undercover that was parked out there watching. Ask him if this door ever opened. And he's like, oh, so you opened the door and you received anything from them? I'm like, fuck no. I said, you can search the patio all you want, dude, but I said, you ain't coming in this apartment. You don't have any reason to. And he's like, okay, sir. He's like, yeah. He's like, well, we're gonna search the patio. I'm like, cool. Knock yourselves out. So, I closed the door, and then, well, actually, no. I talked to them a little bit more. I was talking to the female detective, just asking her, so like, what happened? Oh, because actually, before he started searching the patio, he asked me what I was actually thinking of before. He goes, explain to me why, they got a cousin supposedly that live next to you, but yet instead they come over here and they talk to you. And I said, I don't know. Maybe their fucking cousins ain't home. I said, did you go talk to them? And then he was like, I don't remember what he said, but he was like, oh, okay, this Mexican ain't stupid, I guess. So anyway, I started talking to the female detective. Once they kind of like cooled their jets and figured that I was just a observer, like I didn't have shit to do with it. I started telling him too. I was like, your son's a fucking idiot. Like, I told him like I was always like trying to start shit with people and just gets drunk and starts acting stupid, right? And so I was kind of like, it's about time you guys come get this motherfucker. Take him somewhere, take him away from here or something, right? So the lady was telling, like, because I asked her, like, so what happened? And then they basically, said that he was involved in like, basically like a drug deal. Like, they tried to jack him, and or they said that's what it, so far that's what it looked like. And he was shot. I guess he shot back at them too. And then they said, so basically they I don't remember if she told me this or if one of the other neighbors told me this, but I guess what happened was they were talking to them on a loudspeaker, like telling them to come out. And so the mom came out first, and they told her come down the stairs, and then they told her to get on the ground, and then they threw her down to the ground. Well, they didn't throw her down, but they made her go down. They searched her and they found a wad of cash on her. So like, he had handed her like a wad of like, I think like about $5,000. And I was like, damn, I wish that motherfucker would have put it on my patio. If I would have found that shit, I would have been like, I didn't find shit. No, I'm just kidding. I would have turned it in, I would have turned it in. But so like yeah, so they found some money on her, and then I guess it took him a little bit longer to come out. Like, he didn't want to turn himself in, but he ended up coming out. They handcuffed him. They handcuffed both of them, but I think they only took him. They just talked to the mom. So I guess they ended taking him. He ended up going to jail, and like, we talked to the mom afterwards, and like, she was of course upset and crying and stuff, but she was telling us like he needed to this needed to happen, basically. Like, she said, she couldn't control him anymore, and she didn't want him, like being a drug dealer and stuff. But so he ended up going to juvie, and or not juvie, he ended up going to jail, my bad. And so I guess like he was calling her from jail, and he was like crying and shit. And like, she was telling us all this. He was like crying and saying, I promise I'm gonna be a good boy. Like, I don't ever want to come back here, And so I guess he found out he wasn't as hard as what he thought he was, I guess, So they ended up moving though. So I don't know what happened to dude like after he got out, but I mean, hopefully he saw the light and realized like, I don't want to be a gangster no more, Like, hopefully he got his ass a real job, and he turned his life around. But that was another story from that was from the hood, my little hood where I live. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm I'm gonna try to start doing these a little bit more. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until the next one, your homie Big Cisco. Peace.